Hello, welcome. This is Walk in the Park. My name is Tony Ingram, and this is episode 122, recorded on December 9th, 2015. You can see all of my shows at my video blog at walkinthepark.tv, walkinthepark.tv. So you might call this episode The Power of the Sun. We're going to look at a couple of episodes ago, we looked at sunrises and sunsets, and I've been out photographing them lately, and I got some more, but we'll go into it more deeply on other levels today. So I went out about a week ago over to Bostwick Road, which is a very scenic road running up the west side of the Cayuga Valley, Cuba Inlet Valley, south of town, in the town of Ithaca, and photographed the sunrise as it was coming up over South Hill. And I've been doing a lot of that lately. I'm slowing down on it because actually it's been hurting my eyes a little bit. The sun comes up very brightly, and it's been a little hard on the eyes, so I may not do that as much, but it's a lot of fun to get out there at the beginning of the day and watch the day begin as the earth rolls towards the sun, and we get another day. And it's amazing how quickly it actually passes, especially this time of year when the day is very short. We're heading towards a 9-hour sunlight, 15-hour dark by a couple of weeks from now, when we have the winter solstice around the 21st, 22nd of December. So, so Walk in the Park, walkinthepark.tv. So we're going to take a look at some the sun in various other places, sunrise. There's another sunrise over Keuka Lake. I'm not sure who took this picture. I might have taken it, but I don't remember taking it. In any case, there it is, sunrise over Keuka Lake. Then we're going to go down to Stewart Park and look at the waterfowl there at the end of the day as the sun is about to set. So let's take a look at that. So obviously a lot of geese and ducks and gulls and so forth were hanging out at the south end of the lake and probably going to spend the night there. The geese tuck their heads over on their backs and spend the night. So while I was there, I took this little picture of this big old tree silhouetted against the sky over Fall Creek from Stewart Park. The sun had just set. So that was fun. That was nice. Then another morning, this was actually Thanksgiving morning, I got up and I went to photograph the sunrise over Cayuga Lake. This is in Cass Park, looking east over Cayuga Inlet towards the East Hill skyline there, so before sunrise. And I was going to head on up to Deganic Falls, but I realized I probably needed to stop sooner, so I went to the Ithaca Yacht Club and down in that area and waited for the sun to rise, and got some beautiful results looking back towards Ithaca, down Cayuga Lake, back towards Ithaca, with the clouds starting to light up. And then across the lake, as the sun slowly came to the horizon, apparently, actually we were rolling towards the sun. The sun isn't rising, but it apparently rises. And then I turned to look north, and some of the clouds were lighting up with pink and stuff. That was very pretty. And but then my attention went back to the sunrise and finally it started to nose over the horizon. This is an exciting thing to do. It's subtle, it's quiet, but it's also very thrilling and exciting. So finally the sun got up. So I actually took a little video of that time, which I'm going to share with you now. So let's go back to just before the sunrise and look at it in motion. Coming right up here. That was Thanksgiving morning. So once again, this is Walk in the Park, walkinthepark.tv. You want to see all of our shows, go to that website. It's a blog, and I post all of these shows and other short videos that I make, some of which go on the show, some of which go on Pegasus. We're on public access television, Ithaca, New York, channel 13 and 97.1. And so I post the shows online so that you can see them either later or another time, or if you don't get public access, or if you don't get television, cable television in Ithaca, you can see everything online. It's fun to go in the woods and watch the sunrise as well. And so let's go to Buttermilk Falls State Park. This is dawn on their rim trail area. Not supposed to be in the park at night, but this is daytime, so very beginning. So here's the sun rising over Buttermilk Glen. And I look to the right and watch the sun start to illuminate some of the taller trees over the gorge. That's actually looking out over the top of the gorge. And finally the sun came bursting through the trees, and that's very lovely as well, and makes for some nice pictures too. So okay, so all this solar energy is pouring on us every day. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it because we have a lot of cloudy days here, but that's another whole story. But anyway, it has a tremendous potential, as Joe Silky of Renovis Energy will tell us. So we're going to go actually to the Finger Lakes Climate Action March, that Finger Lakes March for Climate Action that occurred a couple of weeks ago at Seneca Harbor Park in Watkins Glen, to coincide with the beginning of the global climate meetings and talks and negotiations going on in Paris right now, and which will go on for 11 days. So they are probably going to wrap up the end of this week. Lots online about that. Anyway, let's go see what was happening there and find out what Renovis Energy had to tell us about solar power.
in the last year created 50 jobs by designing and installing renewable energy projects across New York. Renovus' mission statement is, our goal is to dramatically increase the amount of solar across the Northeast, which also happens to be my mission statement as a mother. And I noticed that as soon as Chesapeake Energy went away after the fracking ban, all those white vans that were filling my village, they also went away. The Chesapeake came, they said, quote, and they weren't speaking ironically, the shale army has arrived, resistance is futile. After they left, my village of Trumansburg was filled up with white Renovus SUVs. There were so many of them. I don't know if you know this, Joe, that my daughter was just learning how to drive. She backed into one of them. Leave a little note on your windshield. So our message to the shale gas army is, the solar army has arrived.
Hello, hello. Thank you for being here. Hey! All right, so I've got all good news. First of which is I'm going to be so short, then we can move on. So who knows that every hour there's enough sunlight that hits planet Earth to provide all of humanity's energy needs for a year 10,000 times over. Every hour, globally. It is a near infinite resource that we can untap forever. Current technology can answer all of our energy needs forever. That is now. We are a small part of something that is happening that will take over. This is a solar-powered planet. All those people that were in those other trucks, they're in my trucks now. Over 20% of my employment base is veterans and former gas workers. We are changing the way energy evolves, and it is because of all of you.
Okay, so I apologize, I mispronounced his name, Joe Sliker, President and CEO of Renovus Solar. Well, now we're going to, by the way, this is Walk in the Park, walkinthepark.tv to see it online. But now we're going to go do something really different. We'll come back to the solar business soon, but we're going to go out to the sort of western Finger Lakes. Now, in this NASA composite photograph here, I guess it's not a composite, it's a photograph from a satellite looking down on the Finger Lakes of central New York at a time of year when there's some green. And in the center, the two big lakes there are, on the right is Cayuga, and we're down the bottom, of course, in Ithaca. And to the left of that is Seneca Lake, and we were just down at the bottom of that in Watkins Glen at Seneca Harbor Park with the Finger Lakes Climate March. But we're going to go to the next lake over, which looks like a little Y there. It's one of the lower Finger Lakes. And you can see that there's a point of land. Let's fly over there. These are our next few aerial photographs are by Bill Hecht, and he's been so generous to share his photography with everybody. So we're down over the village of Hammondsport to the left there, and Keuka Lake winds to the north, and you can see it divides up at the upper right. We'll get a little closer up there. Divides into two branches with a long peninsula coming down between them. And this was actually caused by the Ice Age. These two branches once were two rivers that joined together, flowing in a south direction. Originally emptied into the Susquehanna River system and through Pennsylvania and down into Chesapeake Bay. But it's all been reversed, and now the water goes north to Lake Ontario. Anyway, the glaciers came down from Canada, and they carved out the two branches of the river and that joined at Bluff Point and left behind this lake that's in this Y shape. So let's fly around a little bit to the west, looking over Bluff Point. You can see the eastern branch in the center there behind Bluff Point going up to the somewhat upper center left. Up in there, by the way, is the location of the village of Penn Yan, and on the left, on the extreme left, is the village of Branchport, and at the end of the west branch of Keuka Lake, and then just across the water from there is Keuka Lake State Park. Okay, now we're going to fly up around the west branch, looking southeast over Bluff Point, over the beginning of the East Branch. So, and then beyond that, in the upper right, you might be able to make out another body of water. That's called Juanita Lake. And there's actually a canal that was dug from Juanita Lake, which is higher elevation than Keuka, and then the water would flow down that steep slope to a generator that New York State Electric and Gas operated for many years to produce electricity, though it's closed now, and there is an effort by local officials to try to turn that into a park and museum. So you may be hearing more about that. A friend of mine, George France, who's a consultant and specialist on planning, has been working with them on that. So let's see, where are we? We'll go around like this. We're looking now more over Bluff Point, looking down to where the two branches join to the south, all the way down to the other end at Hammondsport. Let's get down on the ground. Now we're on the east shore of the East Branch, looking at Bluff Point. We are now going to go into a gorge, but it's a gorge that you probably have never heard of or been in, and you shouldn't actually, because it's on private property. But my friend George invited me to come along. He had authorization from a municipality and who was doing a study. He's been doing a study on land use, ecological environments, and agriculture, and scenic areas in terms of preservation of these kinds of assets. And so he wanted to take a look at this particular gorge called Eggleston Glen. Once again, we went in there with permission. You should not go in. There is no trail up in there. It's a beautiful gorge, but again, no trail. And we had to make our way up carefully up the glen. Getting up, and there's a treat at the end when we get up there. Pictures along the way of the creek and the glen there. George took a picture of me. And finally, keep going up the glen. George took a few pictures of the water on the rocks, and there's some neat shapes and colorations and so forth. The rocks are very slippery. That brown stuff there is actually algae, and if you step on it, you'll go down fast. So you have to be pretty careful with that. But it does make, along with the different qualities of the rock itself that have been worn by the stream, it does make for some interesting natural art, I guess you could say. Finally, at the end of this gorge, or at least this lower section of gorge, you come upon a waterfall. So this is one of the hidden gems of the Finger Lakes. There are a lot of them out there, and they deserve protection. And someday, maybe this one will actually become a preserve that the public can have some kind of access to. There certainly are organizations and entities that would like that to happen, and maybe it will. But so here's a waterfall. I don't know the name of it. I guess we'll just call it Eggleston Waterfall, Eggleston Glen Waterfall. And there I am, getting my camera ready, I guess. And here's a few pictures of this waterfall. We estimated that it was about 90 feet high, maybe 92, maybe a little over 90 feet tall. Actually, I went up by the waterfall, and George took a picture of me, and then we compared my height, which is a little over 6 feet, with the height of the waterfall. Came up around 90 or 92 feet. Here's a picture from the side that he took. I didn't climb up on these steep banks. There's George up on the bank photographing this amazing waterfall. And there's some quite rugged cliffs here. You almost think like you're out west when you look at this kind of landscape that rise maybe a couple of 100 feet. So that was quite a little adventure. Maybe someday that will become a preserve. And there are many places like this throughout the Finger Lakes that don't have protection. And I wouldn't say this one is under threat, but it'd be good to get a place like this or other places like this, and there are many, as I say, get them preserved and held for future generations, especially when maybe the land values are not as high as they may become sometime. So, but I took some video up in there, as I always do, so let's take a look at this hidden gem of Keuka Lake on video. All right. Hidden gems of the Finger Lakes. Lots of them out there. So maybe someday it'll become a park or preserve. Well, probably a preserve at some point, if anything at all. Once again, you're watching Walk in the Park. walkinthepark.tv. You can see all my episodes there. You can also see the schedule of cable casts. I post it with every show. So if you want to watch them in future weeks, you can always go there and find out the schedule. All right, so we're going to do one more little, go back to our sunrise theme here, our solar power theme, and look at the sunrise. Let's see, where's that going to be? Yeah, this is over in the hills of Danby. Here's a picture of the sun poking over the hills of Danby, taken from roads in Danby, Comfort Road, Miller Road intersection. I've been taking a lot of photographs there. So here is a time lapse, a quick time lapse of about 5 minutes of the sunrise compressed into less than 30 seconds. So coming right up here. Rhythms of the Earth, that's one of my little very short online video series I put up on the internet, on Facebook, places like that. And so very short, 15 to 30 seconds, some of them are a little longer. So I have some others. If you go to my website, some of them are posted there. So now I have a few minutes left here, so we're going to take a look at sunrises and sunsets and the like in other parts of the country, in some parks. Let's go to the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, Shenandoah National Park. Here we go. This is from the Shenandoah National Park. They quote John Muir, who is one of America's great conservationists, founder of the Sierra Club. So this is in the sunrise in the national park. Climb the mountains and get their good tidings. Nature's peace will flow into you as sunshine flows into trees. The winds will blow their own freshness into you, and the storms their energy, while cares will drop off like autumn leaves. John Muir. So another kind of solar power, the power of it to bring our spirits up. Now this is from them. If you look up at the top there, you might be able to see some letters. This is MWOBS It's kind of cut off, but it's the Mount Washington Observatory. It's a weather station that's been up there for many years. And on December 4th, they wrote, with this picture, dawn breaks on a wintry scene at the summit of Mount Washington. We received nearly 8 inches of snowfall yesterday, which has coated the summit in white once again. That's the highest point in the Northeast, 6,288 feet, and it really has an Arctic climate up there. The highest wind velocity recorded on Earth was recorded at Mount Washington, probably back in the 30s or something, 231 miles per hour. So they have an amazing weather station up there and the climate. Let's take a look at, we're going to go down to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. So see what we have there. Foggy autumn morning in Cataloochee Valley, located in Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Cataloochee is a peaceful mountain valley surrounded by 6,000-foot peaks. It's a great place to see wildlife like the bull elk pictured here. In 2001, elk were released in Cataloochee Valley. Today, the herd has now surpassed an estimated 400 animals. Photo courtesy of Brian Simpson with BK Photography. Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Now, elk were probably about 100 years ago were wiped out in the eastern United States. The last elk died in the Adirondacks or something like that. And in some locations, I think maybe Shenandoah as well, they have been reintroduced. So they are native, but they were gone. Let's go to Maine. So here, where are we here? This is Acadia National Park. If you want to be the first person in the U.S. to see the sunrise, you'll have to go to Maine. The morning's first light hits Acadia National Park, revealing the rocky coves and dense forests. It's a spectacular scene in the sky and on the land. And also, if you go to, I always heard the first place to get the sun in the United States was the top of Mount Katahdin in Maine. It's almost a mile high. It's all up above timberline. It has an Arctic climate like Mount Washington. And this was at August 24th, 2006, 5:38 a.m. The MIT Outing Club went up there to catch the sunrise. That's all the time we have. So thank you for joining me. See you again next week.